All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the main Slate show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Week 7 ahead, going to break it all down for you as we usually do, game by game, talking roster construction, ownership, process, things to help you make your lineups for yourself on the slate. So excited for that. Got Hoop Title here with me as always, and got some good momentum coming in. Hoop got backwards hat today, too. Jeez, he's out there. So, Hoopster, I'll bring you in first, man. We got a good slate ahead. I love this slate.
Yeah, I love it too. That backwards hat, just like a last-minute decision. So I bought this hat, and I was like, man, I actually really like this hat. But you know, sometimes when you buy something online and it comes in and it's like not what you expected it to be. Like I like how it looks and everything, but it's very like flimsy on top, and that's just not my sort of style. So we're going backwards hat today. Hopefully, it's a sign of good things to come today. Like the slate, excited to break it all down. But yeah, the backwards hat is because like I bought it. I like how it looks, but the feel of it just doesn't really fit my head all that well.
Hoop got the Tinder date set up, showed up to pick her up, and then realized it wasn't what he saw online. So he put that thing around backwards. Title, gotta bring you in, man. None of us are in the dating streets, but I thought that was the best example I could think of. I got a story. I'll save it for another day. But Title, what's going on, man? Another Sunday fun day. Sin day, win day. Here to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I might have to go grab a hat and throw that on backwards after I'm done talking for a bit. But I definitely feel what Hoop says. I'm picky when it comes to hats. I know you have to be as well, Tambo. Look how it feels, material. So totally feel that, Hoop. Some hats only are backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, man, what a freaking Title looked like coming off a bender. No bender like a couple weeks ago when I was with Hoop. But our man Phil, the college football team, our man BJ, it was a bender because I was up late last night cheering these boys on, and it's such a huge win. I know you'll get into it, Tambo, but $25K for our man BJ, does our MLB Showdown content over here, shipped it all. Phil, $35K. So good right there. I don't know what Tambo's laughing at. I might be getting chirped. I'll be right back with the backwards hat.
I'm bringing all those in, too. We are starting the day. We'll spend just 2 minutes on it. Not even just market awareness. We're going to show people, but I got to shout out our guy Newen said, oh, those catfish, got to be careful. Oh, baby, it's hatfish. Hatfish get who got hatfished over there. This is just a perfect start. So I'm excited. I'm definitely bringing that up. I got to show this off. Like huge momentum to talk about quick, and then we'll get right into the slate. But just so you guys know, last week was our biggest week ever in the NFL. We had our guy Kenny W. We're just everywhere last week. We had college football seats. We had FFWC seats, big cashes. Our guy Hamhawk won $50K, bunch of members with huge ROI. Then it flips, and hockey, NFL goes away for a day. Hockey comes into play. Our guy Rio, Hebrew Cheated, the man out in Vegas at a wedding right now. Shout out him. He'll be back. He runs our NBA program starting on Tuesday. We'll get to that quick. But he won $100K using the NHL content in the NFL, in the NHL streets. Then you flip over to last night. Our guy BJ, he's still grinding, and we're grinding over here. MLB Street Showdown for the playoffs. He ships it with his exact secondary core on the site. Wins over 27,000 on like 12, $15 buy-ins or something. So shout out to him. And then got to give our guy Phil, one of the members of the community, great dude, Phil Smart, 112687. Life-changing score, $108, just 3 lineups in MMA to 35,000 plus. So, Hoop, I'll kick it to you, but just a huge week to kick things off to head into a fun week 7.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of solid wins and momentum leading into today. Like you talked about, the NHL stuff is, I mean, you just love to see it. And the nice thing about this is in 3 different sports, right? And that's one thing that we talked about. We wanted in well-rounded, and a couple questions in there about, or a couple comments about my sound. I'd move the mic and change it. So if this is better, please let me know. But 3 different sports, and we kind of pride ourselves on the,
5.
Yeah, sure. But the ones that I have in my head, right now are the 3. NHL,
I was just NHL. Yeah. We got college football, MLB, NFL. There's just lots going on, and then the other one is NBA.
Yeah. So I mean, the NHL is kind of like a niche inside of a niche, and Nades runs that program for us over here at SHIPITNation.com. Rio probably doesn't know shit about hockey, I'm assuming. He probably knows literally nothing about freaking hockey, but he's able to go couldn't have done it without Nades. Took the content that Nades produced and was able to turn that into $100,000 win. I mean, it's phenomenal stuff. The big MMA win last night. I mean, if you're paying premiums for content with these sports, it's just insane. Like, we have it all covered here. I mean, it's very simple. Like, if you are paying somebody, and NBA starts next week, if you're going to pay somebody $80, $90, $100 a month just for NBA, you're doing it just because you like the person. You're not doing it because you think it's going to be beneficial to you and your gameplay. It's just insane. I mean, we have you covered, all bases, all the main sports on DraftKings. Come to SHIPIT Nation, all access, like you said. And like, the price tag is unbeatable. I mean, literally unbeatable. So before you click that purchase price tag on NBA product next week at another site, SHIPIT Nation is where you should be coming first.
Yeah, let's give away a free membership today. We'll give one of these $85 a month all access memberships away on the show. Let us know, in the chat, just what sort of what you use. So I guess the best way to do is, like, what are you using in the past? Have you ever used content? And what sort of you're looking for when it comes to DFS content? We're always trying to improve and add on. Hoop talks about it best, but everything that we've done, and one of the key components, I just brought it up, but we added the stone. We're going to start there for NFL guys. We're going to start with the Seahawks Falcons. We'll leave one game up, and then we'll turn it off. And if you guys get to 400 likes on the show, we'll bring the stone back up. But let us know in the chat what you guys sort of want to see when it comes to content. We'll tell you what we got along the way, and we'll get you set up. If you do want to become a member, we just launched this promo. The code is already built in, so you don't have to do anything. You just click this banner on the site, shipitnation.com, and you get the automatic 15% off. That gets you it for $85 a month, all sports, and Shiptimizer for the sports we cover it for, which includes NBA coming back. We've already got it for MMA, MLB, the PGA, NFL, NASCAR, everything else. So let's do that. Hoop, kick it to you. First game of the slate. We've got about just under 100 likes to kick things off. But let's talk about this first one here. We got Atlanta and Seahawks. First one up.
Yeah, just real quick, a big matchup today between me and my boy Danny. This goes back to week 1 when I talked shit about his Vikings, talking about going to the NFC Championship game. I said, well, my team has a chance, yours doesn't. Well, his team has a chance as well. So here's the deal. This is what we'll do. He says, if my Vikings beat your Lions, I get a month membership. If your Lions win today, I'll be your friend for life. Here's what we're going to do, Danny. Okay. If the Lions win today, you sign up and become a member, and it's obviously going to be beneficial to you. However, if the Vikings win, we'll get you a free membership over at shipitnation.com. This has been a bit for the first 7 weeks of the NFL season. So Lions win, you sign up. Vikings win, you get a free membership. So there's the deal.
And Billy, we got that Billy Maker momentum. That's what I was trying to show off. We're there. We kept it well under 10 minutes, only 8 minutes in. So we'll start off with the first game. I'll leave the stone up for it, like I said. But we are waiting on Kenneth Walker news. It is just an illness. They said, for those that know the joke, they're in the Discord, or we all posted it out on X, is that it is Kenneth Walker III's birthday today, turning 24 years old. So people were thinking maybe he got up to it in the city of Atlanta, that doesn't really sleep. Shout out Atlanta. And maybe he was out there doing his thing, but I don't think so. So hopefully we get him in, Hoop, but I'll let you start it off. Seahawks at Atlanta. Pretty good game here.
Really, the only significant news that we're waiting on, unless something pops up as a surprise, is this Kenneth Walker thing, and whether or not he plays. Popped up yesterday as an illness, like you said.
I think your mic is gone now.
Gone?
Oh, it's back.
What the? All right, go to the title first. Let me address this situation.
Yeah, Billy addressed what I was saying in a different term there. And happy birthday to our guy, Jay Steele. Title, I'll let you kick it off. You start with this game.
Yeah, Falcon side, obviously I'll get to the Kenneth Walker stuff in a little bit. Falcon side is interesting because Drake London will be one of the most popular plays on the slate, still very mispriced in a pass-first offense. Cousins has definitely looked pretty good after week 1. I wrote him off to an extent. The dude couldn't move, looked like a statue, but they're getting the ball out of their hand faster. They're running the ball well. All 3 of these Falcons receivers, as long as they're priced fairly, which 6,900 London, 5,600 Mooney, 4,400 Ray McLeod. And we didn't say like grand scheme overview, but my quick one is salary's really tight on this slate. Like 2 tight ends, man, who, first of all, you got me so tilted with his back. I look like such a dork. My hair coming through, it's bothering me, but we're shipping today with this. So
you got to keep it rolling now. Yeah, I mean,
bear with me.
Make it work. Got to make
Yeah,
it.
it's struggling though, but I mean, they run 11 personnel almost every single play, as you see with the Stone, the snap share, wide receiver 3, Ray McLeod on the field, 80% of snaps. Value's tough on the slate. Pricing's tough. 2 tight ends is viable. 4,400, Ray McLeod going to be on the field 90% of snaps. I have interest there. Some leverage off of London. I have interest in Mooney. Some leverage off of London. I like Drake London. If I like all 3 of those receivers, and you see we have Kyle Pitts down there as well, no one knows what to do with Kyle Pitts. 5% ownership. All of that means I'm going to be playing some Kirk Cousins today at home in a dome. Good total. Ownership doesn't look crazy. Can stack it multiple ways. I like the Falcons side a lot. I also like Bijan. Finally had a great game last week. Algier is still getting a lot of work, and that's not going to change, which is not great. But 3-point favorites at home. You can see that rushing defense on the Stone for the Seahawks. D- right there. So I like so much to do with the Falcons, whether I'm playing Cousins and fully stacking it, whether I'm just going Bijan, one-offing some of these guys. I will have a lot of Falcons exposure. As you see, one of the highest implied totals on the slate, almost at 27. I like the Seahawks side too. Geno, his ownership in check, doesn't break the bank at all in terms of 5,800. You have clear guys, DK Metcalf, JSN. It could get a little better, I think, if Kenneth Walker was ruled out. I'm expecting him to play with an illness. Crazy to think that dude's only 24 years old, though. I don't know what these dudes are grooming when they're 8 years old, 9 years old to be that big of a beast at 24. But if he's out, Charbonnet would be one of the best plays on the slate at 5,300. I think he'll be in. Both quarterbacks, DK, JSN. Yeah, you can play a little Lockett. I don't love it, though, on that side. Falcon side I prefer because there's a million different ways to go.
Yeah, you can even play both running backs in this game, and I'll let Hoop talk about it, see if his mic's back in just 1 second. But got to address Petey. Petey, natural contrarian over here. 2 oval heads, backward hat, looks good. 1 round head, keep that thing frontwards. Round heads with backwards hats, trust me. I know this, buddy. I've been around. So, Hoopster, I'll kick it to you, man. What do we got with this one?
All right, hopefully the mic is fixed. I unplugged everything and replugged it back in, so I think we're good to go. Does it sound good? Thumbs up?
Sounds
good,
better,
good,
yeah.
Good. All right, perfect. All right, so yeah, it's when doing these shows, it's always a tough when your favorite game is up first, and this is just my favorite one for a lot of the reasons that Title had mentioned, like 2 running backs that are clearly very strong plays: Kenneth Walker, Bijan Robinson. Each side, 3, I'd say, solid to playable wide receivers. I mean, DK Metcalf, Lockett, JSN. On the Falcon side, London, Mooney, Ray McLeod. 2-ish tight ends. Like I'm going to play a little bit of Noah Fant. It doesn't feel good, but I'll have some of him. And then Kyle Pitts on the other side. And then both these quarterbacks, I think, are very, very strong plays. Geno Smith on DK at 5,800 stands out as a very solid value. The Seahawks are throwing the ball a ton. And then, like Title kind of mentioned at the end, if Kenneth Walker is out, it's just a boost to the passing game. You have to imagine they go even more pass heavy. So love the Seattle side, love Kirk Cousins and the Falcons side. There's so many different ways to go about this. Single stacks, double stacks, game stacks. You can do it all in this game. There's just so many different pieces, so many ways to go about it. And everything pricing-wise is pretty much in check. I mean, Drake London's still underpriced at 6,900. DK Metcalf at 68 should be, I'd say, relatively low owned, probably 5, 6, 7% owned for a guy that has just massive upside. So I like every part of this game. It has that nice total 52 in a dome. And even like if you want to get a little crazy, like Tyler Algier, I mean, he has 2 touchdown upside. It's weird, but the odds of it paying off probably not great. But man, like he can get the job done too. So there's so many plays in this game, so many different ways to go about it. Outside of London and maybe the running backs, like everything's going to be relatively low owned. So one of my favorite games of the week right here to start things off.
Yeah, and I like Jason's comment. What you hit on there, Hoop, and talked a little bit about was just the overstacking. You can do it with a couple of different games on this slate. But again, everyone's going to this game. We have it tagged right here. It's a chalky game. We know what the color scheme is. We put it up here. That's what the Stone is good about. But like you said, popping in guys like Algier, popping in a Noah Fant, like these guys are still showing up on the Stone as having something to them. It's just they're not going to pop as much as the other guys. But when you're overstacking, that's how you get different with it. And then when people say, oh, I had the 3-1 stack, but then I still got beat, this is crazy. That was how you do it. You go up and over the top. So I think that's certainly an interesting way to go. If you're not playing someone from either side of this game and you just happen to land on your defense last, I think you could definitely plug in these defenses. Even in higher scoring games or games that pop off, you can see where the defenses are still the reason for that, or they're more involved. And then it was already mentioned earlier about like Bijan is almost minus 200 to score a touchdown today. So there's that. I mean, that you saw the D minus over here. You see the D on the other side. It's definitely a bad matchup on the ground. Both teams might just want to do it that way. But moving it through the air, I like JSN. I like, I'll still mix some Lockett in there for $600 less, some DK Metcalf, some Geno stacks, and then run it back on the other side. And both sides kind of have guys that can get the game speed up. Like a Mooney catching an early bomb, that should speed up the game. JSN could be like a secondary stack where he's catching 6-7 passes across from a Bijan. So lots of different ways that you can use this game. And the other stuff, I would say I agree with the math here. Almost over 500 watching. Got to just keep those likes rolling. The stone is going to be good to go here. We'll take that down and go to the next game here. Hoop, I'll kick it back to you. Anything else you want to add there? If not, you can take us into the second game, which is the Texans.
Full screen makes even worse. Go ahead. Hoop.
No, you gotta keep it rolling, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be kept now.
You're just roll with it. You're looking good. Don't worry. What game are we on?
Thanks, buddy.
Titans Bills.
Yeah, Titans-Bills. So the one play that's going to be pretty popular in this game is going to be Tony Pollard. No Tajay Spears. Pollard, should get the full workload, pass catching, goal line, all that stuff. The problem here is they're 9-point underdogs, and they're only projected to score 16 points. So of all the popular type running backs, I think Tony Pollard definitely has the most bust potential, and he's a guy I'm going to play, no doubt about it, but it's going to be in check. I'm not going to go crazy with the Tony Pollard stuff. I think the Bills at home, very good team. If they get a lead, they could just shut this thing down, which I'm assuming is what they kind of want to do. For me, outside of Pollard in this game, there's not much more for me. Like the Bills, projected to score like 25, 26 points. Like, yeah, they'll probably get there, but how? Is it James Cook? Are they going to continue to use, Ray Davis after he looked pretty solid? I think he was questionable, but it sounds like he's probably going to play. Amari Cooper into the mix. Will he have the full workload? This is the first week I'm going to bail on the Kincaid stuff and probably catches 2 touchdowns, but he's going to be like unknown. Like no one's going to play it. So this game is mostly a fade for me. Yes, I'll have Tony Pollard, but potentially like with the field or underweight on Tony Pollard. Just it looks like it could just be an ugly game, like a 27-3 sort of game or something in favor of the Bills, and they're going to be fine winning games like that. They definitely will be. So not a good game for DFS purposes.
Are you going to be loading up on the Bills D at all?
Yeah, definitely want to play the Bills D. And then one thing I have noticed, honestly, when you go in, regardless of the optimizer that you're using, it's just defaulting to cheap defenses for the most part. So if you're not paying attention and you just run your teams, like you're not going to get much Bills defense. You got to kind of force it in. And yeah, I will be forcing in the Bills D today.
Yeah, we've got him in double digits. I think obviously the Mason Rudolph news sort of flipped that a little bit. And he is a guy that will just come in and, try and do some stuff. I just don't know how it works. But Title, I want to get your takes because the Tony Pollard, again, the stone is not up right now, but is actually, again, it's all slate dependent. People kind of got this confused last week. Nades and I did a full breakdown on the Bucky Irving stuff last week, but Tony Pollard looking pretty good there. And you look at props and stuff a lot, has almost 100-yard all-purpose prop. He's got like plus 100 to score a touchdown. He's minus 150 for 4 catches. Like the checkdowns can just rack up, and there's not a lot of value. So $6,300. I keep hearing the same thing. They're 10-point dogs. He's the worst chalk on the slate, but I don't know if I fully agree because there's other stuff and other components at hand.
Yeah, so you and I were on the same thing because right away I'm like with Hoop, and I still think I am with Hoop. He's going to get so much ownership. Like you compare him to the other chalk, and it feels like you can poke the most holes in it. But man, like you said, these lines, because that's exactly what I went to. I mean, DraftKings Sportsbook, they take all the money in the world, follow the money, minus 110 to score. I found it makes sense, but they're implied for 17 points. Like they're going to score 2 touchdowns, and he's a coin flip to score it. That was interesting. 15.5 rushing attempts with the over favored. That's interesting in a game that they're 9-point dogs, second biggest on the slates. They're on the road. Not great. And then 3.5. So I like him more on DK than FanDuel for obvious reasons. He's going to get ownership on FanDuel as well. But like you said, I think a lot, if he does get there, it's probably 5, 6, 7 dump offs from Rudolph. You said 3.5 juice on the over for his receiving prop. The problem is I just don't like anything else in this game. I'm not going to go to the Josh Allen side. I'm not going to really one off anything else. I do like Bills D. But other than, I'm indifferent what to do with Pollard. I'm going to play some, but at like 40% ownership, I probably do come in underweight because I can see a million pass where he busts. If they're down 20 or something, is it going to be Pollard getting all the work? I don't know. He's been good this year. I think they stack the box. I think they try and make Rudolph beat him. If Pollard gets there, I think it's 5, 6, 7 dump offs. Again, I'm probably a little underweight. I'm playing him in cash as of now, but it's scary. It's definitely scary. No Tajee Spears. Everyone probably knows the reason Pollard's still projecting so well, all these props, no Tajee Spears, so Pollard should get a true workhorse this week.
And I think it's one of my biggest pet peeves. I guess it's the same one as when people are like, oh, it's a low total. They're not going to score. Like this game could be 49-14. Pollard could have 2 touchdowns, 6 dump offs for 40 and 60 on the ground. And that's a phenomenal day for 6,300. It has nothing to do with the other stuff. So it's just, I get it. You can poke holes in it, but that's even if they only put up 14 points, it's below their team total. It could be a bunch of Pollard in the spot that he's in. And I think it's certainly something that they're going to try and do out of the gate. So he's going to get his opportunities. And you could see a drive where he breaks that receiving prop, like just one drive, 4 catches. Definitely see that. Mason Rudolph, man, it's just they're going to keep it simple, dump it off, pass it off, try and keep Josh Allen in that offense off the field. And even still, the Bills not throwing interceptions right now with Josh Allen, but it's not like they've looked phenomenal, at least to me. So I'll say that. The other thing, I'm using Titans D, cheap D, if I am with Pollard lineups a lot in tournaments, because I think this is the natural thought. Shout out to our guy, Rob, excellent dude, always there supporting and helpful in the Discord. It is, that is the common theme, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. I'm just saying in GPPs, why not tell the story with it? Why not say he does get the early touchdown? The defense does step up. They're opposite defense of the Bills here. We've seen that plenty of times and just given us that extra gear to work with, that extra, what is it? $1,200 at defense. Give it a shot. I mean, we've seen it in the past, just not much this year. Title, I'll stick with you. Let's go Bengals Browns here. Move on to the next one.
Bengals Browns. I'm not playing Deshaun Watson. And Ham texted me last because he liked him a little bit. He took a shot. He texted me mid-game. He goes, Deshaun Watson is on the ban list. So Ham's on board too. Maybe Tambo says something different. I will say, no, I'm not playing Deshaun. David Njoku, though, is someone I have a lot of interest in at tight end. It's going to be Deshaun's security blanket in the middle of the field. Not like Deshaun stretches it down the field anyway. Obviously, no Amari Cooper this week is the big talking point. Like Judy, Elijah Moore, both getting talked up a little bit, showing about 12% ownership. Elijah Moore only 3,200, Judy 4,800. I'm going to try to avoid that as much as possible. Again, salary is very tight on the slate. 3,207 points could be on the winner today if it gets you everything else you're saying. So I'm not saying just don't play him. The Tim Patrick call from last week from Hoop. I'm hoping we have a couple more of those as pivots. I don't want to play. He's not chalk, but I think he's an over-owned Elijah Moore in just this brutal, brutal offense. Give me Njoku. I think 2 tight end lineups are viable. I mean, this guy was getting drafted as like tight end 6, tight end 7, 90th pick in the summer. Got injured coming back. No Amari Cooper, should have a good target share. I do like a lot of David Njoku on both sides. Very fair price tag. Bengals side, I'm indifferent what to do with Burrow stuff. Like, can Deshaun push him enough where Burrow can get there? Ownership's very low. I like T. Higgins' price tag a lot at 64. I do prefer the 2K savings from Chase, especially on this tight pricing slate. Chase is a good pivot right there from Justin Jefferson. You guys know me. I'm always Jefferson. The matchup looks way better, but he might be a fifth of the ownership right there in the same $100 cheaper. So going Burrow, very low owned, can get you the pivot off of the Jefferson. It's expensive. Again, I'm gonna see what you have to say about that, Sam, but you've had a good read with quarterbacks and stacks. But I like Higgins as a one-off for sure. I like Njoku as a one-off for sure. And then Chase Brown is very, very interesting because he took over Moss's lead back role last game, looked good, big run at the end. I don't know for sure if it's going to completely go that way. I should take that back. I don't think it's ever going to completely go like 75-25 on either side. But I do think the more the weeks go on, Brown is going to outsnap Moss, especially in trailing game scripts, which this isn't one, which is why I'm a little concerned. Trailing game scripts is almost all Chase Brown, but he just looks way better and more explosive. So a running back that's getting very overlooked, I think a clear pivot, kind of in the Tony Pollard-ish range, stuff like that. I don't mind a little Chase Brown as well, but Higgins, Njoku, Skinny's by far my favorites.
Yeah, I got a lot with this one, but I'll kick it to Hoop first. And Hoop, before you talk about this game, just real quick, linking the last game to this game, I did hear a little bit of talk this week about Amari Cooper playing for the Bills, which he's no longer on these Browns. So maybe hit on him for just 1 second because the chat was mentioning him. And then that's with the previous game with the Bills Titans, and then move on to this game. Your thoughts on Bengals Browns?
Yeah, I mean, I think moving forward, there's going to be spots for Josh Allen, Amari Cooper stacks. Like, there's no doubt. I mean, they're going to have big games together. I just don't think week one of him being on the team as 9-point favorites at home with essentially everyone else on the offense healthy is the spot. So I'm going to wait and see on that connection. Now it's going to be unowned. I mean, it'll be like, Allen to Cooper will be like unowned. If it goes off and you have it, you're going to be in a very, very good spot. It's just not going to be in my lineups, but at some point this season, I mean, I'm going to have Allen to Cooper stacks. There's no doubt about it. In regards to the Bengals Browns, I mean, another pretty ugly one. I mean, the one thing that, just definitely jumps off the page to me in this game is Jamar Chase at like, not only low ownership, like no ownership. Like we have it at like 1%. Other spots have it like 2-3%. So we're talking like 3% max on Jamar Chase, and you don't really have to sacrifice anything. Like if you play 8% Jamar Chase, you're double, triple, maybe quadruple the field. 8% Jamar Chase, you can still get the Justin Jefferson stuff in there. You can still get Amon-Ra St. Brown, but Jamar Chase, like unowned, like I'm in. I'm definitely in. It's not like I'm playing 20% Jamar Chase. I don't have to. I can play single digits Jamar Chase and have the chance to be 4 to 5x the field. Definitely in on that, like the T. Higgins price tag. But for me in this game, it's going to be those two. And then Njoku on the other side. I agree with the point that Title made, like the Judy, Elijah Moore situation. Like I want to avoid it as much as possible. Like we don't have a ton of value. So Elijah Moore at 3,200 will be in my lineups, but I don't want it to be like a massive number. Jerry Jeudy, like I don't know. I'm probably fine like not having much of him. There's other guys in that range I like more, but Elijah Moore at 3,200 probably is just tough to avoid because we don't have a ton of value on this slate. Njoku 4,100, definitely a fine option at tight end. We know the story with tight end. It's been a tough position all season. 4,100 for him, I'm good. But for me, the main thing in this game is clearly Jamar Chase at like again, not low ownership, no ownership.
The best thing about the SHIPIT Nation community, we're always working on process, getting better at the game of DFS. And shout out to its community members coming in the clutch here, talking about what I was just about to talk about. I actually like a lot of stuff in this game. You mentioned the Chase thing. It's the perfect spot. He is right between, he's not just right under Jefferson, he's right above Amon-Ra St. Brown. What do we know about Chase? When Chase has a big game, it's going to be with Burrow. So like Hoop said, you don't have to dedicate a ton of your portfolio to this. You just go Burrow, Chase, and Njoku. You know who's been on the most Million Maker winners of anybody? Joe Burrow. It's when it happens, it's going this way. We already know. So it's not that you were saying this is the best spot or take all your shares and move them over. We're just explaining the possibility of it. If not, the rest of the stuff is chalk. So you're going to have to move around in different ways. I think the way is what Title talked about with Chase Brown, because we got Bengals D popular, use Chase Brown with it. We got Njoku popular, use the secondary stack and put Chase Brown in it, or T. Higgins for 2,000 less than Jamar Chase. The other thing is just flip it and go to the other side. I think they're starting to pick up steam, so I don't think this is going to come in as low owned as some might think now, but the Browns D going the opposite side of the Bengals D where most are on it. And then, the chat was talking about it, but if you did want to stack Watson, it's because that's a way to fit Jamar Chase in. I know you'd want him with Burrow. I would, but the only other way I would want him would be with a Watson. If you're going Judy, Moore, Njoku, pick your poison, but it's obviously not ideal. And he's not done much, but our stack rankings do like him over at SHIPIT Nation, so can't ignore that. As far as the chat talking about Nick Chubb goes, not really interested in that. I just don't see any reason. They're trading away pieces. They know they're in shambles already. The D may step up just out of the pride factor and the AFC North battle and all those things, which is, like Jake says here, this is definitely possible. But as being a Ravens fan in the AFC North, those games can go one of two ways. We just saw it actually with the Ravens and the Bengals a couple weeks ago. So just note that when you're watching for it as well. I don't think the Browns can keep up the same, but if they do, that's where this would come into play. I do like the Burrow Chase Njoku stuff on the other side a little bit more. Title, anything else you want to add on that from my stuff? I know you already went through it. If not, you could take us into the Packers at home, the Cheeseheads, your boys against the Texans.
Yeah, I do actually, because I was debating, I think you can make a case for CJ with certain pass catchers, Love and Burrow, all priced very similarly. Do you have a clear ranking with them? Because I'm torn. I think you can all be on the winner. My poke in the holes with the Packers is they just have so many guys. You got to get it right, whether it's Romeo, Kraft, Reed, etc., which is a good problem to have because it's low owned. But if you get it wrong and the other guy goes for 102, you're screwed. CJ stuff, I respect Packers D a lot, and I'm worried about just Watson not being able to keep it up as much, but I love all your points. So do you have a ranking there, like a very strong take on those three stacking?
Who am I ranking?
Jordan Love and the Packers stacks, CJ Stroud, the game we're talking about, and them, or Joe Burrow, all in that same QB, high 6K, low 7K range?
It's probably Burrow, Stroud, Love. And the thing about Love is he's phenomenal. Like the chat talked about it. Nades loves him. I get all that. It's not a homer thing for Nades. It's certainly a great spot, and we'll wait on the Wix news and all of that. But it's just really hard to get it right.
Yeah.
And it's like, even when you do get it right, nobody's on any of them. So it's not, again, like, when what I talk about all the time, the diamond in the rough stuff, it's not even diamond in the rough. Cheap Watson, cheap Kraft, Jordan Love, fair price, like all of that. But it's a target tree that is hard to get right. It's the Mahomes situation when Mahomes was good. We'll talk more about that later. He has not been good, but Love is very good right now. This is an awesome made-for-TV matchup. I'm super excited to watch it, but I'm just not sure how it's going to play out from the DFS side.
And that's what I was worried about. Like, I think Jordan Love and the Packers are a stack you can have every single week. Like, everyone's stroking Love in the chat right now. They have so many weapons. They can run the football. They're going to put up points every week. The problem is just you have to get them right because there's so many pass catchers. I think because that was my worry, you talked me in to preferring the Burrow stuff number one. Problem with CJ is there's no problem with CJ. I mean, it's expensive. And then when you do pair them, it's probably with Diggs and Tank Dell. Both are expensive, so that is a problem. I do respect Packers defense. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pass a little. I think I'm more so just one-offing the Tank Dell, which is my favorite play in this game, 6,500. If you aren't going both stacks, Joe Mixon will be pretty low owned as a pivot in the running back room, coming off a massive game in his first game back, can catch passes, a good touchdown prop right there. I do prefer him to Jacobs on the other side if I had to pick a running back. I still think Jacobs a fine pivot. No one's going to talk about or really play at running back as well. The Reeds, the Watsons, Diggs, Dell. I think I'm really just going to be one-offing these guys more so than picking the quarterback and stacking them with them. I have nothing bad to say, but when you go Stroud, Diggs, and Tank, that is a lot of salary on a slate where it's really uncomfortable to play the Elijah Moores and stuff of the world. So I'm going to circle back a little bit and just mainly one-off stuff in this game and not probably fully stack it.
Yeah, Brian, if you go, this is free for anybody, actually. If you're just curious on how it works, you go to the Shiptimizer drop-down menu. Don't click it. You just hover over it, drop down. There's Shiptimizer tutorials in there with specifics, as well as for each actual sport that we're working on right now. So there's that. Before I go to you, Hoop, 2v2 switcheroo, the cash to GPP swap right now. If you go from Chuba Hubbard and Njoku, you can play Josh Jacobs and Dalton Schultz and get a little 2v2 secondary stack.
He's in. I didn't talk about Schultz. I didn't talk about Schultz because I knew Hoop would spend 10 minutes on him.
Yeah, man, I'm glad that was it. I thought you were going to mention some like nasty shit that I had no interest in. And then I heard Dalton Schultz's name and ears perked up a little bit. I like that. Thank you. Thank you for serving that up. Very interested. In regards to this game, I think, Title, I think you broke it down well. It's like on the Packers side, can they score a bunch of points today and be successful? Yeah, sure. But it's like if you're playing Love, like where do you go? And where do you go to make it significant enough that like you're over the field on it? Like it's just very hard to predict where he's going to go with it. Can he have the big game? Yeah, but man, I just don't know. And then the problem on the Houston side is what he said it's expensive. Like you're sacrificing other stuff, and you're probably going to be forced to play more. If you do CJ to Stephon Diggs, you're going to be forced to play more like Elijah Moore and Trey Tucker, nasty plays like that. You're going to have to play more of that stuff if you get into the Houston. So long story short, I'm hoping this is either a really low scoring game or a game where it's all done by the running backs. I'm going to play some Mixon for that reason, because I know I'm going to be light on the passing side. I'm going to play some Mixon at very low ownership. I'm going to play Josh Jacobs at relatively low ownership. So either I hope it's low scoring or it's all running backs. But back to the initial question that you served up, I don't even know if it was a question, it was a statement. I will play some Schultz at 4,200. It's one of those situations. I played it all season long. He's cheap. Nico Collins is still out, and I think he did get the targets last week. I need to check on this, because before I say it, I think he had a big target. Didn't we talk about it on the Friday show title? I think he had like
every week you mentioned Dalton Schultz. Yes,
yeah, but he had like 8 targets. Yeah, 8 targets, 6 targets week before. Like he just hasn't found the end zone. Like he could definitely find the end zone. I'm in on Schultz. I'm in on the running backs, and I hope it's kind of a low score. Ultimately, I hope it's a low scoring, nasty game.
Everyone keeps talking quick, Tambo, about Jordan Love naked. I wouldn't do that, because if he does get you your 400 yards or whatever, yeah, it's hard to pick who, but someone, at least one, more than likely 2, sometimes even 3, could come along with, like, if you're going to take the shot, guess on the guys, like Playcraft at tight end, Reed or Watson. I prefer a little more, I guess, if I had to pick 2, but we saw Romeo get it done. I would pair him. I would not
guess on something and go overweight on it. Way over.
Yeah, play 2, at least 2 of them, and just hope you get the right 2.
Yeah, the people are just going to bring it up because it's a similar situation to last week, and they'll say, well, you didn't need that to win. You needed him naked with the $4. Everyone's using the same joke from last week. But like you said, typically people will dedicate a portion of their portfolio. Somebody out there is playing 20 Love lineups maybe, and they're just saying, look, I'm playing 20 lineups in the Millie Maker. I'm going all in on Love. I'm going to do double stacks and hope he gets there and whatever, and that they get to the top. But it's certainly a thing. Tweezy is super sharp today. Always in here supporting. Shout out to our guy Tweezy, but it's very simple. You literally click the same button you clicked to get into this video is the same button that you click to subscribe, is the same button that you click to like, and we give away shit for free all the time, including today we're giving away a membership for a month. We're going to bring up the stone, all that. It takes 2 seconds, over 650 watching, and not even 300 likes yet. So that's always my gripe. We just takes 2 seconds, hit the like, and we're good to roll. It's easy, and it's free. It supports us. We appreciate you. Big giveaways coming. So, as far as this game goes for me, I like that little secondary. I let you guys talk about it, and I'll just add a couple more things. If I do have some of these stacks, it's in like the $100 Millie Maker, where I'm just going to stack it up and hope that it's my favorite plays with these guys. That's more the builds than actually getting what I'm getting out of Shiptimizer and putting in the optimizer, because I'm just not going to do that there. But if I'm hand building a Nade's Core lineup or something like that, then I'm fine with it. It's just I'm going to put my favorite stuff around it. And if it gets to the top, it gets to the top. It is tricky, though, and I definitely like better spots. Hoop, I'll let you start on this one. Some people are calling this a better spot, but I don't know about this. The Dolphins and the Colts. Any love for $7,300 Tyreek Hill or Tyler Huntley?
Sermon, and that's it. I mean, I'm not wasting time on that. I have no interest in anything outside of Sermon.
What about the Colts D?
Yeah, defenses. I'm fine. I'm actually fine with both defenses. I'd totally play both defenses, but it's Sermon and nothing else. Like, no interest.
Yeah, people might have just forgot. Now we're up to almost 350, just like that. So the Stone's going to be coming up sooner than later, and that's good because we're not even through all the morning games yet. Title, kick it over to you. Dolphins at the Colts. Any thoughts?
Echo exactly what Hoop said. I think Sermon's the cheapest running back I'd really go to. A lot of people living in the low 6Ks, starting running back at 5,500. You pull up the game log, you see 2.9 DK points last week. Why do you want to play him? Well, I mean, he had 18 rushing attempts. Unfortunately, he only went for 29 yards. That's not very good, but you get 18 carries at 5,500. That's 3.5-point favorites at home. Decently low owned too. Yeah, I think it's fine. Not excited, but it's fine.
Welcome in, Jason. We appreciate you. That's what it's all about, man. Join the community, get in the Discord, get around like-minded individuals, similar goals and mindsets. We're all trying to do the same thing here. So just real quick, the chat is going through it, though. They're giving you guys a little trouble on this stuff, like A-Chan, upside play in the Millie Maker, Tyreek, Huntley, Waddle, Sermon
This is the stuff that kills me though, because you can go through a slate and we do this shit for a living. I could make a case for every single player on the slate if you wanted to. I could go and say this guy's in play, this guy's in play, this guy's in play. Like you can make a case. These guys are NFL players. You can make a case for anyone, but you got to draw the line somewhere. You can't play everyone. If you play everyone, you're losing every week. I'll promise you that. Like you gotta. HN's gonna get some ownership. Like there is ownership to all these guys. I get it, but like you got to draw the line somewhere.
All right, I'll wait to draw my line for 1 minute because I'm going to speak on one thing on this game real quick. First of all, Tyler Huntley, amazing first name. So you got that about him, right? You start there. But Miami off the bye and going against a Colts pass defense that makes even Trevor Lawrence look phenomenal. Not sure how that's going today so far in the London game, but he's only had one good game, and it was against these guys. So certainly when you're looking at it, you are taking a shot. It is a risk. I guess do you want to, if you're taking risks on this slate today, do you want to do it with Aiden O'Connell, Daniel Jones, Tyler Huntley? And one of the things about this game is they still have a 20-point total. Achane is a spot if you want to avoid this passing stuff, but Waddle, Hill, Huntley, and then you have Sermon with the good O-line on the other side. You've got some stuff there, but I really wouldn't fully stack it. But if you wanted to just go like Huntley, Hill, Sermon, I'm okay with that. If you want to put Achane in as a one-off, I'm okay with that. Sermon, as Hoop mentioned off the top, I just think it's certainly interesting off the bye in the one good spot that it could make them, make Huntley actually look good. So, Title, kick it back to you. Anything else to add? If not, you could take us into a game that everybody loves for good reason, and that is the Lions and the Vikings.
Yeah, I'll never argue with like what you said at like 1-2%. I would like it a little more if it was Flacco on the other side. Like when Lawrence got there, Flacco pushed him, especially early. Richardson, I have to see it a little first. Good fantasy quarterback, but the offense can stall with him. And a lot of people mentioning Tyler Goodson because he got a lot of work for Trey Sermon last week. Yeah, that is definitely a concern. I expect him to mix in. I would not play Goodson, but if that wants to keep you off Trey Sermon, again, he's 5,500, really the cheapest running back I'd go to. It's not like I love Trey Sermon today. There's a lot better running backs out there. So taking it into, the game everyone wants to talk about, Detroit and Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota's the clear – everyone's talking about Minnesota. It's the clear side. No Aiden Hutchinson is a huge loss for this Lions defense. Talked about it a lot on the Cash Show, but it's going to be a huge pass final for Detroit moving forward. It already was. They're tough against the run. Great pass rush now. The pass rush takes a back seat. More time in the pocket. Already not a great secondary. Best receiver in football out there in a dome. I mean, it just all adds up for Darnold, Jefferson, Ham's boy Jordan Addison, 5,600. Very, very much in play. I think very good play. Darnold double stacks with him are great. You can throw Aaron Jones in there if you want to overstack, like when Hoop won the Millie. I think this is a game that could get there. Aaron Jones can catch passes, 6,500. Again, good rush D for the Lions. Jones can catch passes there as well. So it's going to get ownership is the problem. If you're going to plug in Darnold, Jefferson, and Addison, be a little careful of what you're doing in the other spots. The other side, golf stuff, just like last week against Dallas, not getting the love. People don't like to stack Jared Goff. I mean, he doesn't have rushing upside, but he can throw for 300 yards in a dome, small dogs. We look at the Stone. Minnesota also a pass funnel D as well. Tough to run on, can get beat through the air. And you have so many options if you want to play Goff. You can play Gibbs with them, the pass catching back, obviously. Amon-Ra, great play. Going to be way less than Jefferson, $200 less. Jamal at 6K, been a beast this year, big play guy. Timmy Patrick, shout out to Hoop last week. I mean, Patrick over Elijah Moore in GPPs at lower ownership any day for me in this game environment. And I don't know what to do with Sam Laporta. Like, yeah, he got there last week on his one catch down the sideline, a little reverse flea flicker type stuff. They were just styling. Dan Campbell was styling on Mike McCarthy, man. Trying to get Penei Sewell touchdowns, all of it. I don't know, man. Laporta looks a little slow. He looks like the third, fourth read, but it's a tight end. When everyone's trying to go down at tight end in a game stack, yeah, he can break the slate, I guess, at 16. So this looks like an overstack. Chalky sides Vikings. I love the other side as well. Jay Jet's going for a big score today.
Yeah, Hoop's going to go off on this game. I'll let him take it in a second, but you said it, like this is a spot 14-8 for Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown and 14-7 salary for Darnold and Jefferson. Just a quick flip as another example there where you can swap it over. You can find the $100. I know more are on the 14-7 side, but if you get the $100, you can flip it over on the opposite. Our guy Go Collect was in there. He's got the stone up. We are 35 likes away from getting the stone up with plenty of games to go. And that shows the D pass grade for this Minnesota D, if they're for real or not. And if anyone ever saw the old movie, All Dogs Go to Heaven, you said it there, title. Small dogs in week 7. Hoop. We got a small dog here, the Lions, plus 2.5. But you've been talking about this, and you said Minnesota might be for real. How do you think that happens here, though? Like, does that push it a little bit more? Maybe it's 33-30. We get a nice game like that, and both teams go off, or maybe both defenses show up. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week. I mean, what I've been saying it every week. Like, you want, if you're stacking the Lions, if you're going to be heavy on the Lions, you want them to be essentially playing from behind. You don't want them to have a 2-touchdown lead. Look what happened last week. I talked about it on the show. I said the way this goes south, and the Lions guys got there, but a lot of people were playing Lions with Cowboys, including myself. But the way this goes south is the Lions get a big lead because they do a great job of not only holding on to the lead, but extending it and burning clock. And they beat the shit out of the Cowboys last week. Not even close. They got the big lead and pushed it. Every single week that's going to be in play for the Lions if they get a lead. Well, now we have a game where they're underdogs. So what you want, clearly, if you're stacking up this game or going to be heavily invested, you want the Vikings to get a lead. And, based on the line, it's either going to be close or the Vikings playing with a little bit of a lead. So I think it's a very good potential game here. Now, the Viking stuff is going to be not very popular. It's going to be popular. Darnold is probably going to be the 3rd or 4th most popular quarterback. Justin Jefferson is probably going to be the 3rd or 4th most popular wide receiver, but Addison, relatively low. Aaron Jones, there's a ton of running backs. His ownership won't be all that high. So, yes, these guys are going to get ownership, but appear to be good plays. I mean, Lions defense without Hutchinson's probably going to look a hell of a lot different today. The interesting part about this game is no ownership on the Detroit side at all. I mean, even Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's getting some, Amon-Ra St. Brown, for the most part, over the course of the last 2 seasons, has been between 15 and 20% owned, I'd say, on average, right? Like, today, it's going to be probably single digits, 6, 7, 8%. Easy to get overweight on him. No one wants to play Jameson Williams. The dude, we've been talking about it since week 1. His role was clearly going to increase this year. He has a big play upside. He's coming in super low. Lil Tim Patrick, 3,500. We had the inside information last week. It paid off, but it almost paid off.
Now I have to X him. You put Lil before Tim Patrick, and now he's going to have a Lil Humphrey performance. Come on, Hoop. Come on.
No. Yeah, it's a much different situation. The joke's all tied together, so we got to kind of keep it going. But he's the real Lil. All right, the other guy is not the real Lil. Tim Patrick's the real dude. Hit 3,500. Interested. Laporta is, like 1% owned, and I know it hasn't been great this season. It was just one play last week, but man, if you're heavily invested in this game and you just leave him off, you're going to be regretting it, I think, potentially. So really low ownership, easy to get overweight on him. And then Goff, I mean, the ownership difference between Darnold and Goff is just like baffling to me. Like, got Darnold probably 12 to 15% range, and Goff, 1 to 3% range? Like, I don't know. It seems pretty crazy to me that there's that big of a difference. The Detroit running back situation is going to be tough all season long to figure out. I mean, if they're playing with a lead, it's probably Montgomery. If they're playing from behind, it's Gibbs. And we have their price where they got to beat a lot of guys that are getting like the full-on workload. So it does make it difficult. But, yeah, I mean, should be a good game. And if you're heavy on this one, you want the Vikings to score first.
Yeah, and so that's what I was going to say. So my favorite part about this game, and the more you talked about it, the more we did the show, the more we thought through. I like it even more. I forget who it was. Somebody posted in here. Our guy, Billy G, man, he's back. He's loving it. We're in the hockey streets. Good dude. Does a bunch of great work out there. Stat ATL, I think, is his ex, but you guys can go check him out. But he said sneaky play here on the D. So, yeah, there's that. But I think it's just the other side of it, too, that made me think of that, because the first pairing with that would be the Aaron Jones Vikings D. But to Hoop's point is we want to get the Vikings rolling first. No Aiden Hutchinson, other stuff going on their side. But if you got Aaron Jones, he's literally the same price as Chuba Hubbard. He is a little bit more than Pollard. if you're on this game and you want to be a part of it, you can simply play it a little bit differently. It's not the best rush matchup on paper, but if you want to get the ball rolling with telling your story, you get him in there, you get Goff, Jameson Williams, one of Amon-Ra or Tim Patrick. You can get yourself a nice little stack in this game that is completely different and that others aren't doing, and set it up that way. Of course, the conventional way, just go to the other side. It's Darnold, it's Jefferson, Addison, maybe Johnny Munt or something like that if you want to make it work, but you don't have to do that and just run it back with one guy on the other side. But I loved everything you talked about there on the Detroit side, and I think I'll probably end up going with that in the tournament side of things. Obviously, I'll have Darnold in the mix. I like the flip in some of those lineups as certainly as a way to get a little bit different, but could get two things: a really pass-heavy game back and forth, or you could just get a defensive battle between the two teams, both really good teams that show up here. Title, any further thoughts on this one? If not, we'll move it to the Eagles and the Giants. I think we're about to hit the like, so we'll get the stone brought up here.
No, nothing more to add on that game. It's a very good game environment. But yeah, sometimes when everyone does it's going to be an absolute nuke, it's going to go over, all these pass catchers, all that. Sometimes division games, good defense for the Vikings. Dan Campbell, takes pride in defense. No Hutchinson. Would it be surprising to see just Aaron Jones Vikings or one-off or something get there? No, I hope that's not the case. Personally, though, as far as Giants and Eagles stuff, I don't love the game. I really don't. Someone mentioned Alcantara at tight end. I think he's fine. Tight end's actually solid on this slate. And again, I think two tight ends, very, very viable. We get the Njoku with no Amari Cooper, Brock Bowers with no Devontae Adams. Ertz has been good in Daniel's stuff. We just talked about Laporta. Alcantara, very cheap tight end. No Goddard. Did get decent target share last week. He turns up field when he catches the ball. His yak is pretty solid. So I'm good with Alcantara as a one-off. I don't think I'm going all the way up to Hurts. I think I prefer the Burrow stuff. I might even prefer Jordan Love and trying to pick which Packers guys get there. I prefer Jaden Daniels if going up. So I think more so one-offs. Alcantara, Malik Neighbors looks solid on the Giants side coming back from the concussion. Big boy target share there. People are going to play some of these Giants defense just because of the price at $2,500. Hurts can make mistakes. I don't hate that. I doubt I'll get to much A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith stuff. I do prefer Smith if I had to pick because of $1,100 savings, but when I'm spending $8K at receiver, I think it's going to be Jefferson, Amon-Ra, and then if I'm going the Burrow stuff, it'd be Chase there. So don't think I'll get to really any one-off. A.J. Brown, Saquon. I don't know. I'll throw it back to you on that. Saquon revenge, 3.5-point favorites going back home.
Yeah, definitely think it's interesting because if people are going to that price point, it's probably more Williams when we get to the next game at 8,100, or they're just not getting to that price point. And I also think the Eagles D at $100 more than the spot for Buffalo is another thing that you could go to there as well. So I think that's possible. Just quickly back to Billy, definitely agree, but also disagree because that's prime leverage. That's exactly who cares what the rest of the season is. This is week 7. The first 6 weeks, don't care. Things have changed on their defensive front now. I'm more than fine with taking the risk on that. And it's pivots, leverage within the game. It's everything that you can do that can get different with that. So do I think it's going to work? Maybe not. Am I going to take chances to pay to find out if it does, to get that payout if it does work? Yes. So that's really what it comes down to with something like the Jones spot there. Hoop, I'll kick it to you. We got the stone up now on the screen, the Eagles at the Giants, and we got to target it as a sneaky game. Do you agree, or what do you think with this one?
Fully agree. I actually like this game quite a bit. I mean, outside of the four pretty high totals, I think this is the next one that has a chance to get the job done. You look at the Eagles offense, finally, I guess, fully healthy besides Goddard, but Alcantara looked fine out there. Saquon Barkley, expensive running back. When we have it seems like it's been like this for 4 weeks in a row where we have a big group of value running backs, and then Saquon Barkley's kind of at the top. Derrick Henry, if he's on the slate, is at the top. I'm very interested in Barkley. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, super low owned. Again, this is a similar issue though to the C.J. Stroud stuff. Gets expensive very fast. If you're playing Hurts with A.J. Brown, it's tough to do it, man. It really is tough to do it. So, Hurts is a guy I want to get some exposure to, but kind of struggling to make it all work, to be honest. But I do like the Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith stuff. If I have to do it without Hurts, I think I'm fine. On the Giants side, It's painful, but I do have interest in Daniel Jones as well. Cheap quarterback, getting Neighbors back, has built a good relationship with Wan'Dale Robinson and Slayton, has 2 running backs, both can kind of catch passes, and another cheap tight end in Theo Johnson, who I'm fine playing at 2,800. So this, to me, I love the tag. I love that we have this tagged as a sneaky game, because this is the game that, in my head, I kind of envisioned as being a sneaky one too. So I'll definitely have exposure to this one. And really, I really wouldn't be surprised if this was like the winning game this week.
And yeah, it seems like it would be on the Danny Stone's side. I'm curious just to see here.
That's the best way to do it. It's going to be Jones with a pass catcher, and then like Saquon, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. Much easier to do it. No one, and again, it's easier to do it when we're talking those terms. I'm saying it's easier to do it because of the pricing, and it's not going to be high owned either, so you don't have to worry about like big ownership on it.
Yeah, and Eric brought this point. I was going to talk about this one directly as well. So a couple things I really like in this game is, like you said, like the Theo Johnson. If I'm already on Daniel Jones, he's opposite of Calcaterra, who makes perfect sense with no Goddard and all that. I get it. But the other thing is Devontae Smith is the exact same price as Drake London in this game if you think it's going to be the spot. And then all I would do is, you have more than enough money when you're on Jones, Neighbors, and Devontae Smith. Just get to like the Atlanta, Seattle, get a secondary stack in there. Play like a Bijan, JSN, or hopefully we get the Kenneth Walker news soon. But anything on that yet, by the way? I just was checking it. No, Brian Thomas Jr., a 4th touchdown now. Congrats to him. That's nice for the Jags. But I will say that's the other way you could go. So like a Jones, Neighbors, if you want to use Calcaterra, that's another way that you could use them. But a Jones, Neighbors, Smith keeps balanced. We talked about this earlier on. There's not a lot of value on this slate. And if you can just keep a balanced build, that's another thing you can do. You're getting serious guys that have 30-point potential in a balanced type build like that. So I definitely think that's another thing that you have to account for on this slate. So I do have a little bit more interest in this game, the Barkley revenge stuff. Again, thinking like the Pollard Titans D at a much higher level or higher price point, I should say, of Barkley and Eagles, getting one guy out of there in Goddard and going to Barkley now. Maybe that frees him up a little bit like he was at the start of the season. Giants D, I know people are talking about them. You could play them on the other side. That's fine. But I prefer these stacks. And even like Jones, Neighbors, Robinson with somebody from the Eagles, I'd be fine with that too. And you don't need to run it back in this game. That's another thing. So Title, Hoops camera went out. I think he's just working. He says he's always listening though. So maybe he is. But take us into this next game, Raiders-Rams.
Raiders-Rams. The Ram side is we got big news that Cooper Kupp was not playing this week. It was up in the air. Expect him to be back next week. Videos looked pretty solid of him running routes and stuff. So I'm guessing
I don't want to cut you off, but I have to ask, because the news was actually not that he's out. The news was he's questionable, but still unlikely to go. And we do have to wait because this is obviously the first of the afternoon games. Are you worried at all that he does get subbed in at the last minute and we got a late swap conundrum on our hands?
No, but I mean, I don't have any inside information to feel like that. I trust unlikely being unlikely, but that would definitely put a wrinkle in things. There's no doubt about that, because I mean, we're talking about value being tough on a slate like this, and without Cooper Kupp, when 5K is your highest receiver, your pass catcher, you're going to have some interest, and they're implied for 24 points going against this decimated Raiders team that Devontae's gone. Next thing you know, Max Crosby might be gone. Aiden O'Connell at quarterback. Like, you look at their defense, C+, D+. Like, you couldn't get, or I looked at the wrong one, sorry, B- and D. They're just not good. It's a bad football team. The Rams are very, very cheap. You can play Parkinson's, one of the best tight ends at 3,800. Tutu at 5K is too cheap. Whittington looks great at 4,800. Both of them have outsnapped Demarcus Robinson, moving him to the number 3 spot. With all of that, like, they're all coming with ownership, as we see on the Stone, and Stafford's 1%. If you're going to play multiple Rams pass catchers, I don't hate going Stafford, hoping he gets the 300-yard bonus. You have clear run backs on the other side, the 2 guys that aren't in orange. Trey Tucker, wide receiver 1, 4,200, cutting off a complete donut. Could he get a donut again? Yeah, maybe. Rams defense isn't great either, though. Bowers just looks really, really good. You're flipping the build kind of at tight end. Again, he's not going to go unknown. We have 11%. He puts up 20 at 11%. You'll probably want him. And you can use like 2 tight end builds. 5,800 when you compare them, that's like the Mooney range and stuff like that. I mean, you're getting a wide receiver, a pass catcher 1 double tight end. You can look at him as a receiver. We talked the past couple of years, like the Kelce's of the world. When you went double tight end, Kelce was only 6,800. You look at him as a wide receiver one, a discount off of others. That's how I'm kind of looking like Bowers. And then Kyren Williams. Like if you want to leverage some of the pass catching ownership, Kyren Williams, 15% we have. You're paying up. Like we talked about Saquon, he's the pivot off of Kyren Williams. But man, everything lines up for Kyren Williams in this spot. Good size favorites at home against an awful rushing defense as a workhorse running back that McVay's fine giving the ball to 25, 30 times. I like this Ram side a lot. And I guess the more I talk about it, Stafford leverages off some of Kyren Williams stuff. So Tambo, do you like the Danny Dimes stuff more, or would you like the Stafford stuff more?
I do like Stafford, but I like the Danny Dimes stuff more just because flipping the build, everything we talked about, just being a sneaky game, all of that. So I think Hoop's going to go nuts. Hoop's had nothing but he's had mic issues. He's had camera issues. But I tell you, when you said Stafford, everything just turned back on. So we'll see. But before I bring Hoop in, I got to bring up a key point. You guys might have seen this movie before. I'll turn this damn bus around. We will take the stone back down. You can't just stop the likes when we hit the stone. Oh, we got our 400. Now we're done. No, the point is we do it for you guys. It's a give back. We want to make sure you guys can see the action and get in on it for those that can't get a membership or don't have one yet or whatever it might be. So let's make sure we keep those likes rolling. Hoop, you're excited though. Stafford talk. Get over there, man. What you got?
I'm more excited about that clip. I mean, I'm not a huge movie guy, but that's like one of the best movie clips I think of all time. Love that. So glad that you pulled that one up. A lot of the same talking points that title had. I mean, I like all these pass catchers for the Rams: Atwell, Whittington, Parkinson. So like it's one of those situations where if I like every single pass catcher, why am I not interested in the quarterback as well? And it has not been great for Stafford. The floor is extremely low, but could he get 303 and that be enough today? Absolutely. And if I'm going to be heavy on these pass catchers, why not include him at no ownership? So I don't mind the Stafford stuff. Now, I'm not 100% that I'm playing Stafford. Like I'm finalizing my teams. As of now, I have him in there, and I think I'm fine with it. If you're not heavy on the pass catchers, then you probably should be playing Kyren Williams. Seems like a very good spot for him. His price is up a little bit. He'll be owned, but nothing like too crazy. On the Raiders side, I guess Bowers, Trey Tucker, and I guess include this DJ Turner. It's similar to the Cleveland stuff, though. Like outside of Bowers, like Tucker and Turner, I don't want to have a ton. I'm gonna have some, but I really want to limit it because the floor is super low on the Raiders offense. So yeah, kind of where I'm at here.
Yeah, a couple of things here. We talked about it earlier. So the Elijah Moore thing earlier today, like I like Tim Patrick better for sure, but just to use the Elijah Moore thing was if everyone's playing Njoku as a one-off, why not go to that? Then Nade's got there before I could on this. So I was just going to say that's the other thing here. If everyone's on Trey Tucker, who I am on as well, I think he's in a great spot. Obviously, it got even better when not only did Adams get moved to the Jets, but now Myers is out. You can go to DJ Turner for a little bit less in the wide receiver slot, or you can just blow off a tight end spot and put Harrison Bryant in there and use it up. So I think this game is somewhat interesting. I liked your take, assuming Kupp is going to be out, but the Kyren Williams stuff, man, minus 200 to score, 92-yard rush. Again, I always tell everybody this. A prop is just a number. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's, again, they're willing to throw a 92 out there. Like, just slam the under then if you don't think. Nobody bets unders if you don't think it's going to be a good day for Kyren Williams. Plus, he can get the checkdowns if they are stacking the box, which doesn't help that prop, but it certainly helps us in DFS. So if you can afford him and can get to him, he is kind of being held in check just because I think more people want to get to Jefferson, the guys like that they can put in a different position and pay there. So the one last thing, both these sides, Hoop, if you're stacking them up, I'm not, fully advocating for this. But let me flip it this way then, because I don't want to be the advocate for this. You could only pick one and you had to pick one. Title, I'll start with you. Aiden O'Connell or Deshaun Watson stacks on this slate?
Oh my gosh, Deshaun Watson, and that's the biggest puke ever.
Okay, and you don't have to. That's the good news. Just a hypothetical.
Yeah, I'm not doing either, but yeah,
I'd pick one though, and they said you had to pick one. It's Aiden O'Connell stacks. And the chat, let us know. Would you go Aiden O'Connell at $100 less than Watson with similar pairing options? Like I know it's a tight end position, but the amount of salary that you use, any Watson and Njoku lineup, can go down $100 to O'Connell, up $100 to Trey Tucker, and flip some pieces around. But your thoughts, Hoop? What do you got?
Unregister from the slate, or at least unregister.
Pick one.
Unregister the squads that you're considering doing that sort of thing in.
He's not playing the Colts. He's not playing the Colts.
Yeah, O'Connell.
O'Connell in the dome. The chat likes it, man.
Yeah.
Jim likes it. I don't know what the word likes it, but
yeah, that's not a
the
fun
good news
decision
is,
to make.
Tim, you don't have to play either. My take was if you were only picking one, which side would you be on? It's a fun hypothetical, and I think it's awesome. People said they wouldn't even play DFS, but
just thinking about it was so much fun, Tambo. We really got a good time out of that one.
It's a good exercise. Massage Watson. You want to play him. That's a good one too. So, all right, if you're playing those pieces though,
actually, if you choose Deshaun, do you get a massage? That might be that might change the decision
a little bit. Yeah. All right, we got 2 more games to cover here on this main slate, so let's keep it rolling. Let's keep the likes coming in. Almost at 450 now. If you're just joining us, almost 800 watching. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Maybe we should start saying that. I see a lot of people hit the heart, the thumbs up button. Same as if your thing says subscribe. That is not subscribed. You have not subscribed yet. It means click it to subscribe. Title, go to you. This should be a good one here. Panthers at the Commanders. What do you got with this one?
Man, this arguably could be the best game on the slate in terms of DFS, and you can see on the stone a lot of colors. I'll start with the Commander side first because the quarterback, Jaden Daniels, will be probably the most popular, the highest price on both sides. Rightfully so. The dude has been an absolute monster. And what's nice about him is you have clear guys you can go to. Obviously, Scary Terry, 6,800, a clear pass catcher right there. Zach Ertz at 3,900. I'm going to keep playing the guy. He gets targets. He's relatively cheap. Yeah, I like it, Jay. Let's go. Noah Brown's the sneaky one in this one, though, if you want to play the Daniel stuff and get a little different. I like Noah Brown a lot. 8 targets last week, 4K. A couple weeks ago, Noah Brown got elevated to the wide receiver 2 role. You can see his snap share. Well, the snap share because of week 1 and week 2 was down, but it's way higher now, above 50%. Again, 8 targets last game. He's in a lot of 2 receiver sets. Zacchaeus was absolutely cheeks last week, dropped some big balls too. Daniel's pretty popular. If you play Daniels, we only have Terry for 9.2%. 8 of that percent, 9 of that percent will be with Daniel stuff. Noah Brown's a way that I can get different. I don't even hate going Daniels, Scary Terry, Noah Brown, and Ertz, or even Daniels, Brown, Ertz, no Terry. You have expensive QB, and then you're saving at the rest. And we know Daniels, obviously, when he gets there, can use his legs too. So a lot of ways to go on that Commander side. And I love what you just highlighted on the Panthers side with Leggett. The same thing as Noah Brown, kind of, but even better because look at that Deontay ownership, 15%. Look at that Chuba ownership, 24%. He's the leverage off of all of it. Clear wide receiver 2, big play guy. You called it last week, Tambo. He got a touchdown. Yep. You had a great team with him. They're really clear. Chuba's in a great spot. Sanders are looking to trade. Jonathan Brooks probably back next week. Chuba should get all the work again. Has been very good. Deontay with Andy Dalton, target share monster. You see that 9 targets per game with him. I haven't been really messing with any of the Panthers tight end stuff. Sanders, I don't know. I prefer Ertz. I prefer Calcaterra, all that. If you're playing Dalton, sure. I don't love it. I think it's Leggett is the pivot. Deontay, good chalk. Chuba, good chalk. Daniels, Terry, Noah Brown, Ertz. And then the Brian Robinson stuff. If you are fully stacking the Minnesota game or the Eagles stuff and you don't have many roster spots to get to this game, why can't Brian Robinson run 2 in, 3 in, 7.5-point favorites? Daniels doesn't get there because Robinson gets the touches, and that's how you get exposure to this game. Maybe a Robinson, Leggett, Robinson, Deontay, something like that. So I love this game, man. It's a good one.
Yeah, Hoop, I'll go to you on this one first because I got a couple other thoughts, but I'll let you take it over here. There is some stuff I'm seeing on the stone too. So Panthers, Commanders, what do you got?
Yeah, pretty much in lockstep with what Title kind of laid out. I mean, it's a very nice game, obviously, for fantasy. We got a high total, 2 defenses that aren't very good. Obviously, the Panthers defense is really bad, but the Commanders defense can also give it up. Jaden Daniels is going to be popular, but there's ways to go around it. Like, Terry McLaurin's not getting crazy ownership on DK. I love the Noah Brown call at 4K, really solidified himself as the number 2, and then a cheap tight end in Ertz. The Brian Robinson call, questionable leading up to yesterday. His ownership has to remain in check. 6,400. Like, if it's not Jaden Daniels in the passing offense, they're projected to score 30 to 31 points. Like, can Brian Robinson get 2 or 3 touchdowns today? Yeah, he can. So very interested in all facets of the Commanders offense. And then on the Panthers side, I'm good with the Dalton stuff. Dalton to Johnson or any of these other wide receivers. I don't mind the Sanders guy. When they were playing from behind last week, it was Sanders that was in that game getting all the work. So if they're trailing, it could definitely be Sanders that just picks up garbage time stuff along the way. Hubbard looks like a really solid play. The workload is massive, insane. This is clearly a spot where you can do anything. You can play, you could play Jaden Daniels naked if you wanted. You can overstack it. You can single stack it. You can do whatever you want. This game, so many different ways to go about it. Big total, 2 defenses that aren't great, and a ton of offensive pieces.
Yeah, I'll give it to I'll give my thoughts in a second, then we'll go to the last game after I give mine. But give it away the free membership first. Just cross 450 likes. Let's get it to 500, guys. We appreciate all the support. But Quiet Time Music says, I've been using some other stuff. It's very expensive. I like the way the stone looks. Seems like it breaks down the slate in a more comprehensive way. So don't got to bring up the competitors and the other stuff that they're paying for, even partners with some of them, and it's fine. But it's like Hoop said off the top. Like, a lot of this stuff out there, people are starting to realize it is very expensive to sign up for this content in other places. Our goal was always to bring you can see it right on the site in the About section. You can see our core values. You can see our mission, and it's the most affordable, most valuable DFS content in the space. I think we're doing a great job bringing that to you guys, and the members are speaking for it. So you see all the winners in all these different sports. Congrats to Quiet Time Music. Hit us up with a screenshot of your YouTube account, info@shipitnation.com. And we'll get you set up with a membership. And the bots are back, baby. They caught on, man. The fight. We're going to be on the way to 500 likes now. The bots are in the building. But let's talk about this one for a second because, first off, Marcus, you might have missed the Pollard. So it's Pollard talk earlier. A blowout, even if it happens, means absolutely nothing for that. Like, this guy could catch 6 passes on 2 drives in a row for 12 catches because it's a blowout. Like, it's not realistic, but it's possible. So it has nothing to do with that. They still have 22 points for their total here. But this side, he is popular, but you guys can see on the stone for good reason. He's really optimal for what we're setting up for on this slate when we have very limited value. Remember, if we get this Kenneth Walker news, which keep checking, we still don't have it, then obviously a guy like Charbonnet, if he was out for whatever reason, then Charbonnet would be a guy. That would change up some of these ownerships and then some of this other situational stuff for how popular they should be. But like the Brian Robinson call, the big total, if you're not playing Jaden Daniels, I love the Jaden Daniels side, though. They're keeping him affordable at 7,600. Like, this ceiling doesn't exist anywhere on the slate. Remember when Patrick Mahomes used to have a ceiling? No, 27. Now almost 40 for Jaden Daniels with this type of total. Could run a couple in, all of that. I love the one you said title, Noah Brown, Ertz, who, by the way, assuming Kupp stays out, like we've talked about, unlikely as of this morning. Colby Parkinson, who we didn't talk a ton about in the previous game, but we did mention, 3,800. 15% ownership. You're looking here, 3,900, maybe 6, 1/3 the ownership, and he fits your stack. Again, I want to use him more in that stack than not. And then you can even go crazy on the other side. You could play like a Xavier. You could play Deontay the Chalk, Chuba the Chalk, but if you're not on the other stuff, and even McLaurin, not even hitting double digits for us yet when usually he is. And again, this stack, very affordable on this slate. So I certainly like the Commanders side. You can flip it around and do other stuff, but I like the Commander side. Any extra takes, Hoop, on Dalton? I know the chat was mentioning just flip the build and go to Dalton on the other side. Do you like him to keep up?
Yeah, totally. I think this is a slate where cheap quarterbacks are definitely more in play just because there's not a ton of value. And if you do try to work in a lot of these expensive quarterbacks, you're going to be stuck playing a lot of, keep using the same example, like Elijah Moore and guys like that. So I am willing to take chances on some of these cheap quarterbacks. And again, Commanders defense has shown that they're very vulnerable. So I'm good with Dalton. Yeah,
I love Jay's comments. The wife walked by earlier, heard the Jordan Love naked take, raised her eyebrow. She just heard the Jaden Daniels naked comment and now really asked me what the hell I was watching. Yeah, the lingo, baby. That's what it's all about. And that's why you want to go at DFS with a community, because we get the lingo, right? We're talking about it day in, day out. We're explaining it in the Discord. And shout out to our guy, Nick Guthrie, always here supporting. I'm hoping lucky 7, baby. Week 7, 2024. This is my time. That $100 Millie Maker is really calling my name. So I'm expecting to have a few shots up top, and then hopefully they fall my way for the full Millie. If I come in second, 900K shy of first, it's going to suck, but I'd still take it. A nice 6-figure score to kick off, week 7 in the mid part of the season, getting to the heart of it now. I'd be fine with that as well. All right, let's move on. Last game on the slate title. I'm going to start with you, Chiefs at the 49ers. You know, one thing's for certain, never Mahomes, but some crazy stats, by the way. The Discord today, we popped one in there. Scott Barrett from Fantasy Points put it out. In their last 14 games, I know this goes way back for this guy, Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson is outscoring Patrick Mahomes over their last 14 games in fantasy points. We play a fantasy points game. Go ahead, Title. Take this one on.
Crazy, but not like it totally makes sense. I mean, he just never gets there, it feels like. My brother-in-law, he's got him in Dynasty, and I'm like, it might even be time to ship and trade him. Like, he just never gets there for fantasy. So if I ain't playing him or on the main slate, 10 games, I'm not playing Patrick Mahomes. There's no chance there. Juju side, as you see, if you're looking at the stone, which we have it up, Juju's the only one that's getting any ownership on the Chiefs side, coming off his massive game. Xavier Worthy's obviously the one. Juju has operated a lot in the slots. 4K. So his ownership was even going to be higher, I think, before if Cooper Kupp was in, or like if somehow we get Cooper Kupp in, then all the Rams, the Tutus, the Whittingtons, the Parkinsons of the world become worse, and then Juju becomes even higher owned. I don't know, man. I don't love this game. Like, it's such a great real-life football game. I'm excited for it, but we talked about, I think, 3 or 4 other games. I have a lot more interest in terms of DFS. I think the Niners side, they're going to want to try and control the football, keep Pat Mahomes off the field, and establish it with Jordan Mason. The problem is also when you play Purdy, is it Debo? Is it Ayuk? Is it Kittle? I don't know which one. Ricky Purcell will be back this week, so it'll be interesting. The guy that got shot, robbed, armed robbery, whatever, preseason, making his debut this week. You're not playing him by any means, but it'll be interesting to see how involved he is in the offense, if he takes away any of the work a little bit, target share from Ayuk, Debo. Probably not. Probably just slides in the Jawan role, and Jawan was good too, so he'll be mixed in. I guess I keep talking in circles. I'm not really going to be playing much Debo. I'm not going to play much Ayuk because I'm not going to really be stacking Purdy. Jordan Mason's fine, but 7,600, like, I love Kyron Williams a lot more for $500 more. I prefer saving a little in the mid 6K option. Kareem Hunt, I think I'd prefer him over almost anybody on the Niners side. You get some leverage off of the Juju stuff. Workhorse back. He looked great again. P. Ryan was almost non-existent. The long hair, shaggy dude, what the heck's his name? Carson Steele, pretty much non-existent now as well. Starting running back on the Chiefs at 6K, can catch a couple passes. I think it's fine. Worthy big play guy. All that being said, though, I don't love this game, man. Kelsey, maybe, but I prefer Bowers for cheaper. Tambo, talk to me. I don't love this game at all. One-offs at best.
A couple things. First off, very good DFS player, and we're thankful to have him in our Discord. Tom Brady is gray. Plays a lot of the higher stakes, just absolutely dominates. Got a chance to meet him at one of the King of the Beaches here, or maybe it's the Fantasy Football World Championship, but basically talks about the Kareem Hunt leverage. If you're going to say, like I say, never Mahomes, and you're going to talk about this game, I mean, they're still scheduled to put up points. They are still the Kansas City Chiefs. Certainly think that's interesting at, the same spot as Pollard, the same spot range as a lot of these other chalk running backs. So I do like that Kareem Hunt call, and I pay a lot of respect to him. So I think that's a good call. And then I think if I am stacking it, the other thing is if you do think Mahomes goes off, go ahead, stack him. I'm not, but I would stack the Purdy side. Then instead, I would do that. And there's the bots back again, man. Look at them go. All right, you got them. The Purdy side, you can go with no Jennings, Purdy with 2 of Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle. And then you could put your Juju or your Hunt or nobody in on the other side if you want. But I certainly think that's something. I do want to comment on this, though, before kicking it to Hoop to round us out. This is great news. I'm super excited to see Purcell back. Obviously, first round, no Jawan, all that stuff. Man, anytime touchdown is like plus 500. Maybe they give him one to say, welcome to the league. Get him in there. That's a way to do it. His prop is like 13 yards. So definitely bet that. if you think that's going to be the stake, but he's not going to get any ownership. And we've talked plenty of times about this, where just because you get him as a diamond in the rough doesn't mean he wins you a milli. He may do something, but not enough. The best way to handle it is to bet on this guy in some of those formats I just talked about. Stack them together if you think that, whatever it might be, but not going to be in my DFS lineup.
I will say perfect afternoon with only 3 games instead of 4 this week. Like Algier won someone all the money at 2% last week in the afternoon. You want a 2% Purcell and you're surrounding chalk. I think it's more of a 3-gamer play that way, but it sounds like you might not even like that. It's too thin.
No. Actually, I didn't even say that, and I didn't think of it, but I like that input, because that's a take that kind of makes sense, right? You're dropping the slate down. That's what I'm saying. When you've got a full slate of all these games and you think you've got this nut diamond in the rough that nobody's talking about and you're good to go, maybe it's a late swap thing too, right? That was one quick note, Hoop. I do want to come to you quick, but just the setup here is there's only 3 games this week. It's a 7-3 split. So if you get stuck in the afternoon, or if somehow this cup does flip and they say, the cup does flip, oh God, where, you got that happen and cup is in all of a sudden, then you may have to make some moves. And I guess if you're forced into it, sure. But for me, not really interested in it. I do like that call though, title for a 3-game slate. Go ahead, Hoop. I'll kick it to you, and then I'll bring up the old 2v2 swapperoo from my guy, Nick Guthrie.
Yeah, it's I don't know, not super excited about this one. I'm kind of similar to the Packers and Texans, where I hope it's just a nasty, ugly sort of game and 13-10 or something stupid like that. The Chiefs side, I struggle with definitely outside of Juju. I think Juju's fine. We had talked about it on that Showdown show. We thought it was either going to be Juju or Watson. Well, it was Juju in a pretty big way, and he has a connection with Mahomes. So I think he's fine. Kelsey it's hard to spend up at tight end on DK without a ton of value, and he's 6,300. It's hard. Again, people can build teams however they want, but if you're going to play Kelsey, you probably are not going to be able to play a lot of Bowers. If you're going to play Kelsey, you're probably not going to be able to play Kittle. It's a very tough position to spend on today, with so many cheap guys. So you're sacrificing a lot of equity, I think, at other positions if you do play Kelsey. Could it be Kelsey today at tight end? Yeah, absolutely. If it is, especially on DK, I think it's easier on FanDuel maybe to spend up a little bit at tight end, but on DK, it's it's tough to get there. So on the Chiefs side, just really Juju. On the 49ers side, I have interest in Debo, Ayuk, and Purdy's kind of like a fence play for me right now. I don't know 100% what I'm going to do with a guy like Purdy, but I will have some Debo and Ayuk. I mean, Mason a little bit banged up. Do they pass it a little bit more? That's definitely the argument to go with the 49ers. But the one thing I do think is very interesting, all the quote unquote sharps are on the 49ers today to beat the Chiefs. Every single person that puts bets online and claims to be a sharp sports bettor, they all like the 49ers today. So I do think that's somewhat interesting, I guess. I don't know if it really applies to DFS at all, but I guess I just wanted to point.
Excuse me. I was just going to say that your famous line was coming. I thought the next line was going to be the ones that put stuff online but don't actually put stuff in the sports. Say they do. That's the key, right?
There's never receipts on it, man. There's never receipts from these guys. It's insane. They have all these picks and plays, but never have the receipts.
Yeah, I agree. One thing about this game, I'll end on it because a couple notes is not even a pun on a guy like Xavier Worthy. Things that could speed up this game are what you talked about. Some of the stuff with the Mason stuff and the injury coming back and all that, where it's if there is a lot of passing early, this game could speed up pretty quick. And I would then like a game stack. You could even go something like Purdy to Kittle and include Hunt and Kelsey on the other side, and they can just rack it up on the ground, and Kelsey can rack it up as a wide receiver and not need Mahomes. So certainly other stuff that you can do within this game to be able to stack it up. And then you could just fit in a bunch of pieces around it, from the other games that we talked about, like the Carolina game with Washington, the Atlanta, Seattle. You can do stuff like that where you just end up getting it down to a few games. And then I like Nade's mini stack too, the Hunt Kittle one, no real ownership on either of them. And they're kind of just fitting in to our numbers over here. Nothing crazy, but solid leverage there. There's stuff that you can find. So definitely some good stuff. Good stuff. Last week, we had a 250K plus week over at SHIPIT Nation. So if you guys want to check it out and get in on the stone, go do it now. It's the best time going. We got NHL back, been absolutely crushing it. NBA's coming back on Tuesday. We've got college football, NASCAR, MMA, PGA. Our guy BJ won last night doing his stuff with the MLB Showdown stuff, but no other site is doing this. I can promise you that. Is not a first month only, not a one sport only, but $85 a month gets you everything, including all the sports we cover ShipIt for. So you don't need 3 different sites, multiple optimizers, all that stuff. You can get it all in one spot, less than $100, way less, $85 a month. The code is already built into the banner, and you'll be good to go. Title, final thoughts on this slate from you before we get out of here.
Oh, baby, week 7. Nothing better than Sunday morning, building the teams, getting ready for all day, sitting on the couch watching football. Millions up top, big boy prizes. Again, value's a little tough. I think we talked through it pretty well. Double tight end, very viable. Mid-tier builds, clear pivots. We talked about the chase from the Jeffersons, the leverage. I always feel a lot better coming off of this show, too, getting your guys' takes. Feel pretty dialed in. I feel a big week 7 coming.
Yeah, and we do got the stone coming for NBA. So that's, the final straw. We've got it for everything else. The NBA stone will be here starting this week. A preview actually will be sent out tomorrow morning to all members just so they can see it. And shut up, Marcus, always pushing it along the way for us. Do me a favor. I've been waiting for that 500th like. We're at 495. Let's hit it while Hoop's going through his final thoughts. Hoop, final thoughts on this slate.
Yeah, excited for this week. And, geez. What the heck is it? Always excited.
Early. They're celebrating the Millie early.
Yeah, they are. Early celebration. Always excited to obviously break it down and obviously, going through all the games kind of impacts what I'm going to do today. But I feel like we're pretty aligned in what we're going to do. And it's a fun slate of games. I mean, some big totals, some big team totals, a lot of different ways to go. So definitely, looking forward to seeing those SHIPIT Nation logos at the top. It's going to be a big week, boys. It's going to be a big week.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. A lot of fun going through this with you guys today. Shout out to all the support, the engagement that you guys put out there for us. We do appreciate it. The winners, quiet time music, all of that stuff. Thank you guys so much. Should be a fun slate ahead. Week 7 is the spot. Lucky 7, baby. I'm excited for this one. That's going to do it for this week, guys. Be back tomorrow for the Monday show here on the channel. I'll have the takedown breakdown. You guys can put your lineup review options in on my X account at ToeTagginTambo. But that's going to do it for this week, guys. For Title, for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it.